Hey everyone! So this is just a quick tutorial on how I did the crackle finish on these little flat pumpkins, wooden pumpkins that I got from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing you need to do is paint your project. Whatever it is that you're going to apply your crackle to, you first paint it. So I'm just using Paint Couture paint here in the color Sea Glass. And then I'm going to be adding some white. Now the crackle finish is a two-part process. But first you do put the paint on, and I'm going to add a little white here just because I wanted to give it a little more dimension. And these colors, Paint Couture, it's an acrylic paint. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but they blend very well together. And so while the sea glass was still wet, I added a little, I think this was Arctic white, just to give it just a little more dimension. And so then I'm going to let that dry. Now, after that dried, I wanted to add a transfer. These transfers are from Iron Orchid Designs, and this was the Wander transfer. And so it's just a whole lot of very colorful flowers, and so I just cut it up. I actually did, I don't know, maybe 10 pumpkins using this one sheet, this one transfer. And so I just cut different areas of the transfer out and then laid it on my pumpkin. And the transfers come with this little stick, and you actually just rub it over the transfer, and it will just stick, and then you can just peel that top layer off, and then you will just have a very colorful floral pumpkin. I love these so much. Now this pumpkin, let me add that it did not have a top coat on there, and usually when I paint stuff, it does help to use a top coat, some kind of polyacrylic. I usually use Big Top from DIY. But as long as your paint is very dry, you should have no problem with the transfer. See, how cute is that? I just love it. Okay, now for the crackle. So like I said, it comes in two parts. Part one is the size, and that's what this is right here. So I was just using a chip brush, and I just brushed it on, just a thin coat. It doesn't take a lot. And I actually just brushed it on in the same direction that I put the paint on, actually. I don't know if you have to do that, but that's just what I did. Now the size takes about 30 minutes. Well, you allow about 30 minutes for it to dry. Now it won't get totally dry, but it'll kind of get clear, and it will be a little tacky to the touch. So it may take a little longer than 30 minutes. Just depends on the humidity, I guess, where you have your project. All right, so it's dried now, and it's just, see how it's clear, and it's just a little tacky to the touch, a little sticky. And so now it's time for part two, which is the crackle. Now this, it does matter how thick you put this on. So if you want just small crackles, then you would just put a thin layer. And if you want larger crackles, then you just kind of put it on thicker. And what I did with this pumpkin, I put it thin in some areas, and then over there where the transfer is not, I put it a little thicker there. And this has to dry 8 to 10 hours. So I usually just you know, do it and then leave it overnight. But right in there, I put it on a little thicker. And so you'll be able to see in a little bit, the size of the crackles were a lot bigger in that area. So I kind of like to have a variation of the crackles. Yeah, right there. You can actually see it, how thicker it is there. All right, so this was the next day. This is actually a different pumpkin, but I'll show you the other pumpkin as well. I did a live video on Facebook, and so I had this one already done. But see there, that was other flowers that I used from that same transfer, and I'm not even sure if that's the same one actually. But see there, the bigger crackles in this one. This is so cool. I love this technique. Can't wait to try it on some other stuff. So now, and you don't have to do this part, but I added a little copper glaze. I tried a couple of different glazes, but this is also glaze from Paint Couture. It's actually called Glaze Couture. And this is the Couture Copper. So I just rub it on, or brushed it on, as you can see, and it just gets into all those little cracks. Try to speed it up here for you. And then as soon as you get it covered with the glaze, you're going to take like a soft, like maybe a t-shirt or something. I use little pieces of cheesecloth, and you just wipe it back. Just wipe it off. And I usually wipe pretty much of it off, leaving it in the cracks. It will tint your paint color just a bit. But this color glaze to me gives it a little aging. And you see I put it right over the transfer, and it does just fine. And I don't know if y'all can see, but the transfer actually cracked as well. It's just a really cool process. All right, here is another one. And this I'm using weathered wood glaze is the color for this one. It's still Paint Couture glaze. But I liked how this turned out as well, this color. So again, I just brush it on, just kind of like I did when I painted it. I thought I sped this up, but I guess I did not. Sorry about that, guys. But I'm going to do the same thing here. As soon as I get it covered with the glaze, I'm going to take a piece of cheesecloth and wipe it back. There you go. Thanks, y'all. Bye.